Hi. Hi. Um, we are the team behind Activa, and welcome to our special episode. I'm Eunice.
I'm Jaja.
And I'm Yasha, and today we are going to talk about our lives as language teachers, especially ESL here in the Philippines.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, our listeners will get the lowdown on some surprising facts about teaching and the type of students we have. So, Yasha, why don't you start? Tell us a bit about your background. How did you get into teaching? What made you start teaching?
Okay. So, I was made to be a teacher because I majored in secondary. I majored in secondary education, major in English, but I didn't want to teach grammar before. I only wanted to teach literature, but that's impossible here in the formal schools here.
That's
And
true.
then I had an and then I had an opportunity in college to be an assistant teacher to Korean students because there was an intensive English program for them, and then I participated in it and I enjoyed it so much that ever since then, every year whenever there's an intensive English program for for students of different countries, I always participated as an assistant teacher. And that experience exposed me to different people of diverse backgrounds, and it made me more interested in different cultures, and it ignited my love for traveling the world, which is one of my greatest dreams.
Okay.
I took up preschool education when I was in college, and honestly, it wasn't my first choice. My first choice was multimedia arts, and it's funny because until now, I can't figure out to myself the exact reason why I didn't push through that course. But the good thing was preschool education made me feel comfortable. And while I was learning it, I found that it's really interesting and fun. After that, I started working as a preschool teacher. I handled children aged 2 to 4 years old of different nationalities like Japanese,
Uh,
Korean, Chinese, and a lot more. And then it was tough because I remember I had to deal with each child in my class, attend to their needs, and make sure that my goal, which is to give them the best education, is achieved. I also remember that I had to prepare lessons and materials for reading, math, science and arts and crafts, and practical life skills. So after each day, I would sit on a chair and stare at something for a few minutes because I'm really tired. So until I work as an ESL teacher after a few years in preschool, and that's how I became an English teacher until now. I wasn't really good in English before, but because it's my job, I have to be good. So I studied again, and believe me, it's easier to study English now than when I was in school. So how about you, Eunice?
your old life sounds so crazy, Chacha.
Yes.
Well, as for me, I'm a professional nurse, and I used to be a clinical instructor. So that was my first foray into professional teaching. But when I was still living in the Netherlands and eventually Spain, I started teaching English, and I wanted to make it official. So I also took my TOEFL certification. And when my husband and I decided to move back to Asia, I focus on teaching because I feel like it's a more relaxed kind of job, which isn't really true, just like Jaja said. But yeah, I really like teaching. So I've been freelancing since 2014, and most of my students are referrals. So I can name my price, I can give my price range. Talking about fees, how much do you charge your students? Did you start with this current price, with your current rate? Share your range, or if you don't want to share your exact rates, that's also fine.
So, I started with 500 per hour, but I eventually increased it to 650. Um, and then I prefer teaching adults because I don't know how to teach kids. Even though I'm very patient, I
Really?
think it requires superpowers. Yeah, I am. But teaching kids requires superpowers. So salute to Jaja.
Yeah, Jaja, you're the superhero.
I started with 500 pesos per hour too. That's my freelance rate. I give discounts to those who have been with me for years, like 1 year or 2 years, or those who would ask me to teach them again because they've been my students before, and then they want me to teach them again. So something like that. I give discounts to them.
Okay. For me, coming back to the Philippines, I had to recalibrate my price. Obviously, I can't charge European rates here. So I started with 500 per hour also, and I exclusively teach adults because I don't like kids. I don't like them. So whenever I get referrals for kids, I would throw them over to my sister or maybe to Jaja. I remember sometimes I would
Oh
tell you like,
yes.
oh, you have time for another kid, and then I gradually increased my rate also to 650, and this year I'm asking 675 an hour for regular English private lessons, and for Tagalog and Spanish I asked a bit more, that's 750. And for group classes, another different rate. I used to have company group class before, and I was getting around 1,500 pesos an hour. That's for 5 students, which
Wow.
that was really good money because it was pretty
Mhm.
chill and bunch of adults who's just like relaxing after work. And I also had a Tagalog group of four for 1,000 an hour, which was also really good.
So, how about your students? Which nationalities are they? Are they mainly Chinese, Asians? Because my students, I've had students and still have students mostly from East Asia and Southeast Asia, but I've also had students from Europe, Africa, and South America. So this job really makes us meet a lot of people, right?
Yeah, for
Yes, that's
sure.
How about you,
right.
Jack?
Now I have mainly Chinese students, kids. They're all kids. But I have already experienced teaching students from Japan, China, Korea, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, even Libya, Bangladesh, and Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And for me, it's varied. I also have, just like you guys, I have experience teaching Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Germans, Korean, and Americans, also Filipinos. And my number one student who hates me so much is my husband, who is Dutch. So when it comes to choosing or accepting students, can you share your process? Because whenever I get referrals, I always ask for a short meeting first. Well, that's pre-pandemic, and now I always ask for a short call or a short chat just to see whether I can have a good relationship with the student. Try to see if there's a click between us, because I don't want to spend hours with somebody I don't like. I don't like teaching
Yeah.
because that will definitely affect my method, my teaching style. What
Mhm.
about you, Jack?
I asked them first about where they live because location is very important for me. If it's near my place or just around, then I go to my next step, which is to tell them my rate per hour. Then, if the student agrees, I conduct a free trial class and give them the assessment afterwards on what area needs to be improved, like if it's communication, grammar, vocabulary. For me, building a good relationship among my students is very important, and that is my key.
As for me, same as Jaja, I ask them if they live in Makati or are staying in Makati. And if they are, then I ask them to have a meeting with me for an hour. And then we'll discuss things that we need to know from each other, such as my rate, how I conduct my classes, their preferred time, and their language goals. And then if I think I can help them, then I agree to teach them. Yeah, because there are difficult students, just like what Eunice said, right? If
That's
there's
true.
no click between you and the student, then it will be difficult to teach them and to
Yep.
help them.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I think that's our lives as language teachers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great job, isn't it?
It is. It is. I love teaching.
True,
I love
true.
teaching.
Okay.
I love
But of
kids.
course,
We don't like kids.
but of course, it's tiring and it's not an easy job, right? No job is easy,
Mm.
but we love what we're doing, and so we gotta continue hustling, right, girls?
Yep. Hustle, hustle.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it for our week's video, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I hope I hope our viewers I hope our viewers got encouraged to be a language teacher too, and I hope they also enjoyed listening to our stories. And again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the support, and see you next week. Bye bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.